Hello everyone, welcome back to Seams and Notches. If this is your very first time, thank you so much for joining the family, and please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button so you don't miss a thing. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you once again for joining us, and please don't forget to comment down below on what next you want us to feature on this channel. Now without any further ado, let's get started on what we have for you today. For the front pattern piece, you will need it to be traced or placed on fold. So you're going to place your front pattern piece and you're going to place it on fold. You're going to trace round that pattern piece. Once you open it up, it's going to look exactly what I have here. It's either called a mirrored piece or simply placing your pattern on fold. I've got just one part of the back jumpsuit piece. For the bottom area, I have my front jumpsuit pattern piece. I've got the trouser, so I've got it cut out with my 1 centimeter seam allowance, and I've as well got the back pattern piece traced out with my 1 centimeter seam allowance round. So we wouldn't be altering this, so we're just going to keep this aside. In total, you've got your front jumpsuit top piece, you've got your back jumpsuit top piece, you have got your front jumpsuit bottom piece, and you have got your back bottom jumpsuit piece. So for this tutorial, we're going to concentrate on the top pattern piece of our jumpsuit. But before we get started, we need to know the tools that we are going to be working with on today's tutorial. I've got my pattern master, my masking tape, my paper scissors, my marker, and you would not need this. This is totally optional. This is just for me and demonstration purposes, so you will need your pencil instead. I've got my eraser, I've got my notcher, I've got my tracing wheel, and of course you will need your pattern paper to trace off your patterns. Once you're done on the master draft, you will need a bigger pattern paper, just big enough for all your pattern pieces. For the sewing part, you will need your main fabric, you will need your concealed or invisible zip, and you will need fabrics for your lining, and also you will need a matching thread. Based on our chosen style, we would have a waistband for our jumpsuit. We are going to go to the side seam of our front jumpsuit. We are going to measure upwards 6 centimeters. So you're going to go to the dot as well, and you're going to measure 6 centimeters upwards. So I'm going to be using centimeters and inches just to make things simpler for you guys to understand, so bear with me. So we're just going to mark 6 centimeters all the way through from this side seam to the opposite side seam. We are going to use dotted or dashed lines to create our waistband. Now that we've created the waistband, we are going over to the top part of this pattern. So you are going to number this pattern piece, which is the waistband piece, as 1. So this is 1. So when you join everything together, when you join all these pattern pieces together, it becomes 1 pattern piece, and is the first pattern piece for a new style of jumpsuit. And we're just going to create notches as well, so when we match them up, we know that we are matching them on the right notch. We are going to use dashed lines to create the top part of our jumpsuit. So based on the style of our top jumpsuit, we are going to start again from the side seam, and we're going to raise the armhole by 1 centimeter. So we're just going to raise that there. Next, from our center front, this line here, we are going to measure 1 centimeter away from the center front. We're just going to mark that there. based on our chosen style, you can notice that there is a gap at the center front, the lower part of the center front, which we have here. So you're just going to measure 1 centimeter away from the center front line. Next, from our center front, which is the upper part of our center front line, we are going to place our measuring tape or ruler on that line, and we're going to measure outwards from our center front line 5 centimeter, and we're just going to mark that there. So from this center front line, you're going to measure 5 centimeters outwards, and you're going to mark that. So from this point, which is around the neck area, the tip of our neck area, we are going to place our measuring tape and mark 2 centimeters. So you just place a mark there, and that's your 2 centimeters away from the tip of the front neck, and you're going to mark that there. So once you have that, we are going to join all this point together using our dashed lines. We're going to join all those points together. Once you're done joining all the points together, we're going to move to the left side of your front pattern piece, which is around the shoulder dots, and we're going to measure from this point here inwards 0.5 centimeters, and we're going to mark that there. We're going to mark that point there. Once we've marked that in, we're going to join our initial point, which was around the waist area, and we're going to join that point to that point using our ruler. And again, we are going to use dash lines to join both points together. So we've created a shape around the top area of your jumpsuit. We need our dash lines to help us indicate that this is the new style line for our jumpsuit. So that's why we have our dash lines. So what we need to do is to finish up this part of our jumpsuit. We need to get the back neck measurement. So in order for us to get the back neck measurement, we are going to extend the center back line. So I'm just going to extend it like so. So make sure you square a line upwards, and that will be your continuation of your center back. So once you have that, you are going to get your measuring tape and measure from the tip of your back neck to the center back. So that's how we're going to get that measurement. So for me, I have 7.5 centimeters. Once you have that measurement, you are going to add 1 centimeter for ease. So in my case, that is going to give me 8.5 centimeters. So once I have that, I am going to use that to draw the back neck pattern, and I'm going to show you in a bit. I'm going to place my measuring tape or my ruler exactly at this point, which this point here, and I am going to place it there and measure 8.5 centimeters upwards. So I'm just going to extend it again using my dotted or dashed lines. Once that is done, I'm going to mark it there. And I'm going to come here as well, this point way end. So to make it simpler for you guys, you just need to square that line. Just close that line up so it makes sense. 8.5 centimeters for me. And I'm just going to extend that line again with my dotted or dashed lines. 8.5 here. And once I'm done, I'm just going to join this line and that line together like so. So we're going to call this pattern piece pattern 2. So this is 1 and this is 2. So you're going to cut a pair out of this shape we have here. So there's no need for you to draw another style line like this. We've called this pattern 2. We've called this 1. So we're going to go over to the back pattern piece. Like we did before, we are going to, from the waist, we're going to measure 6 centimeters upwards, 6 centimeters upwards along the center back and join both points together. And once we are done, we're going to call that pattern 3. Now we have our back waistband drafted. What we need to do is to go to the upper part of our back pattern piece, and we're going to create that new star line. So we just want to create like a curved line around here. It's going to be an open back, so we really don't need to do much for the back pattern. The back pattern is totally basic, so this is what we have. So we need to call this pattern 4. What we need to do is to trace this out, add our seam allowance, and we are good to go. Remember, you are going to join these pattern pieces together. So you're going to join this, you're going to trace it and close the dart. So I'm going to show you how to close the front waistband dart. You're going to get a fresh pattern paper. We're going to place our new pattern paper along the center front like so. We need to trace this and trace that. Exactly what you have, you're going to trace it off. So using my tracing wheel, I am going to trace around the waistband. So you want to do the same. So you want to trace that, including the notches. Don't forget to trace the notches as well. You're going to trace that as well. So now you've traced, let's just call this A and B. So this is half of your center front waistband. So this is the center front. This is the center front. I'm just going to, so remember, you're going to place this waistband, half of the waistband on fold. So now we have traced this part and this part. We need to cut them in separate pieces like so. Make sure you follow closely. Make sure you cut closely along the line. I'm just going to demonstrate on how you need to close your darts. So you're going to use this same method to close all the darts for our front jumpsuit piece. So we've cut that out. So that is done. So we have both pattern piece. All we need to do is to join them at the side like so. So we're just going to join them. So we've closed that dart there. We're going to get our masking tape. We're going to close that dart like so. So what we need to do is to place this pattern piece on a fresh sheet of paper. On that fresh pattern paper, you want room enough for your seam allowance. Once you have enough room, what you need to do is to get your masking tape. You're going to use that to secure your pattern piece on your new pattern paper. So now that we have that, we're going to trace round. But before I do that, I am going to blend this sharp edge just around here. I'm just going to blend that. So I don't want it too sharp at this edge and as well as this edge. So I'm just going to blend that out. Using my pattern master, I'm just going to blend this sharp bit out like so. So it's kind of giving us a smooth shape. So once we've corrected that pattern, all we need to do is to add our seam allowance like we always do. So I'm adding 1 centimeter for my seam allowance. So feel free to add whatever centimeter or inches for your seam allowance. That's totally up to you. So we are done tracing this out. What I need to do is just to take this away. So I would not be needing this anymore. So this is now one pattern piece. So that's your waistband, front waistband pattern. So you're going to repeat that same process for the back waistband pattern piece. To finish this pattern, we will need to draft our lining piece. From this edge, you're going to measure 0.5 centimeters. From this edge inwards, you're going to measure 0.5 centimeters. So we're finally done. All you need to do is to trace the main pattern piece, which is the black dotted or dashed line. You're going to trace that off separately, and you add your 1 centimeter seam allowance. You're going to trace the waistband, front waistband. You're going to trace the back waistband. You're going to trace the back top. You're going to trace the center back separately, and you're going to trace the side back pattern piece separately. And I'm going to show you how we're doing that. And once that is done, you're going to go over to the lining pieces, which is indicated with the inner line that I have here. That's for the lining pieces for the top front, and the lining pieces for the top back pattern piece. So once you have that, make sure you label your patterns and we will be good to go. Once you are done tracing, these are all the pattern pieces you need for your main fabric. So you have the front jumpsuit top panel, which is going to be around the center front. So you will need a pair of this. Then you have the waistband, that's the front waistband. You have the back pattern piece, which is the back center pattern piece, the side panel, and you have the back jumpsuit waistband. These are all the pattern pieces you need for the main fabric. So for the lining fabric, you will need the front jumpsuit top lining pattern. You will need the front jumpsuit waistband lining pattern. You will need the back panel, that's the side back panel. And you will need the center front back panel and the back jumpsuit waistband lining pattern. So these are for the lining fabric. And of course you have your front jumpsuit bottom piece and the back trouser bottom piece. So what you need to do is to get your fabric, make sure you press your fabric and cut out all your pattern pieces on that fabric, and we are ready to sew.